It's an 8-footer, 4x8, and a 10-footer. This is going to be milled up for the parts. This is going to be decking. I got 2 boards that are 1 5/8 thick by 5.5. I'll get a couple out of that, plus the beam part I got to replace under the deck. So these 4 boards here are all potential decking. I'll use at least 3 of them. This is the decking I pulled off of the upper deck. This is a full 1 5/8 thick, not 1.5 inches. So I can't just go and buy 2x6 or 2x8 and cut that down for me to match what's there. That's an end piece. That is going to be this beam here. All right, so I got to mimic this. This is the one that's got all this dry rot in it. All right, so that'll be from this. I'll make that piece from this piece. That piece was cut off a 10-footer, which was these 2. And after I cut that piece off, I narrowed these down to 6 inches. I cut this off on each one. Then I turned them up on end and I resawed them on the bandsaw. And so what we got here now is these are all over 1 5/8 thick, right, by about a 1/16 or so. That's enough for me to do a little milling if I need to, which I'm going to need to. I'm going to run it through, probably just run it through the planer. 1/16 of an inch is more than you realize, and I can always top them off with just the belt sander. And then I'll be able to piece in the decking boards that I need. This is the one piece I cut out. It had this dry rot on this end, but there's a few more parts up there that have dry rot on the ends. And the reason I want to use such long lengths is I don't want to have all my seams line up on the same joist. So one of the things you'll see, other than the bump on my head, can you see this? I put the boards up on the van, the big beams, and I went like this to move one, and it was still hanging here. I literally pushed a 10-foot 2x8, 4x8 timber into my own skull. Instant headache. Insta headache. Insta ache. So anyhow, as I was saying, one of my pet peeves about decking is when you see a bunch of cut ends on the same joist, or every other board it's seamed on the same joist. And the reason you see that is to save money on material. That's why guys do that. You shouldn't notice seams. You should stagger seams. You shouldn't have a seam repeat on a joist for 3 boards or more. If you do that, if you have that rule, 3, if you can do 4 boards without having a seam repeat, then you don't notice seams so much on the deck. Now, it's always better if you can size your project so that you can use full length boards for your decking with no seams whatsoever. A lot of the times when I'm designing a deck for somebody, I've done a lot of decks. I did more decks than most guys will ever do by the time I was 25 years old. And I did most of them by myself. And so what I'll do is when I'm designing something, I will design it for so that I can utilize what, standard lengths. So they come in 2-foot increments. So you got, well, after 8 feet. So 8s, 10s, 12s, 14s, 16s, 18s, 20s, whatever. So I'm going to lay my deck out to be that size. Or a little shorter, really, because you want to be able to cut both ends off, because usually the ends are checked a little bit. Another trick is to seal the end grain with something as you're installing, and pre-prime or paint parts, like all the framing first before you put the decking on. Get the bottom of the board so that they won't rot. And you'll see all this in this video, but this is just a short version video, just to show you what I'm doing right now. There's going to be a longer version of this video, which this video will be a part of. So you're going to hear this or see this twice. Anyhow, and that's what I'll talk to the clients about that. I'll say, look, you want a 20-foot deck, can we make it 18? Or can we make it a little bit longer? So I'll just figure something out so that I know I can use full length. If it's something that we don't have that luxury and we know we're going to seam, then, I explain to them I want to seam it sporadically enough where you don't notice the seams. Again, you go to somebody's house, you look down and you see all the seams on one line. First of all, that's also structurally unsound. All right. Every other one is structurally more sound, but again, you want to go at least 3 rows, 3 runs before you repeat a seam on a joist. And the more runs you can do on your deck boards, the better it's going to look, more structurally sound it's going to be. So there's your decking tip. And again, I have to do this. This house was built about 100 years ago, and I can't just use regular 2x material because it's too thin. And that is it for now.